these days, and I call them kids because the ones that are in the 18 to 28 year range, old-wise, can tell the difference between who knows what they're doing and doesn't know what they're doing. And that actually does weigh upon what their decision-making process is a lot of times when it comes to what I do, is if it doesn't look good in the pictures, and a lot of the buyers are in that age group, 22 to 32 right now, that are making really good money, at least where I live, that they can afford to build new homes in the multi-million-dollar range. They can afford to do $500,000 to $600,000 remodels. And if they don't know where to go and be able to see what you can do, then I a lot of times can't win a job. Because the person that can make sure that the stuff they do looks good on the surface, and be able to portray it, then you're not getting that business. They're going to go to somebody that, even if they don't do a great job, they're still going to get their business most of the time because of the way that they make it look. And so I just definitely wanted to kind of let this kind of play in the background, let people see kind of what we do and how TJ actually was able to come out and capture that information. Remodel world's starting to change. And I kind of want to just kind of hit on some of the things that construction is seeing right now. I'm getting phone calls from flooring companies, friendly competitors, some of them non-friendly, but competitors in my industry that are now calling me, hey, do you have more crews to send to our job sites? And without getting political, it's because there's some things, certain parts of my industry that they're just kind of hiding out and not coming on the job site. So I've had several phone calls over the last week or two. If I had more human beings, I'd be able to facilitate this, but hey, can you come to our floors? We haven't had crews show up for 2 weeks. There's not any framers showing up to job sites right now. There's not people that actually, in my world, actually hurt me because the job doesn't get to the point of where it's finished and flooring can go in. And it messes up all kinds of stuff for our projections and everything like that. So it's a very sensitive subject that if I was going to talk to you 3 weeks ago about this presentation I was going to do, it was going to be completely different than what my presentation is today because of the necessities of the things that have popped up. And so when it comes to remodel world, right now it's a very big question because if you go on neighborhood websites, just that they have each individual neighborhood, there are horror stories that have come up in the last 6 months of middle of the project, they left, they're not coming back. Can't get hold of them because they're on the cell phone, and that's the only way I could reach them. They didn't really have a brick and mortar business. If you do a Google search on them, they don't actually even have a home office that you could go actually see them at, and they're walking away with $150,000, $250,000. Tony can tell you, I think there's several that walked off of some of his that he's had to come into where they're walking off with millions of dollars of people's money. And whether they got the lending through a bank or that came out of their own pocket, it's not a good scenario. And so something that I kind of brought up to several of my builders, people that I was trying to do some cold calling with, they're now calling me saying, hey, you have anybody, you have some human beings that you can get on the job site. Because now you're supposed to close and build 35 houses this month. And we're already behind just in the last couple of weeks when we can get 10 framed up this week. And that's kind of the capacity at which they've moved. So it's if you're in the construction industry, or if you're in a business coaching scenario, that's a very good time for the construction industry that those of us that do it right, or those of us that have the knowledge to do it right, are going to be sitting very pretty over the next couple of years. I think what we're going to feel this year is going to be kind of a culture shock as far as the builders and the people that are doing it. But then they're going to have to make that change because revenue is getting, chunked at. And they're going to have to pay the right people to come in and either change their business philosophy, which in my industry, they make most of the money on the product. Cost of labor is the human, which the tariffs in my industry are about to shake it all up kinds of crazy styles. So the people that actually make their money in product are going to be hurting because
they have to shift to a different paradigm. And let me tell you, the majority of people in your industry are hiring illegals.
Oh, absolutely.
And we're paying them cheap wages, and that's going to stop really quick here with the other things that are coming down pipe.
And they've already asked me, what do I do? I said, well, you're going to have to dip into your own pockets as an owner. Take less, pay the human being more, because that's what it's going to take. You can't pay them $100 a day to go my industry like $4. The person that you've been going after for the last 20 years and built your business model has allowed you to do that.
No.
But that's not going to be the way that you're going to be able to sustain your business for the foreseeable, at least few years, right? And so, wanted to kind of bring that up because I have twofold. One, if you know people that are thinking about remodels, tell them to get in the game now before those of us that are in the industry know that a lot of taxation is about to happen on products and goods, that if we don't get them from America, and we get them from the triune, as I call it, above, below, and west of the United States, it's going to be a whole different cost come into summer than what was right now. And so if you know people that are building, but want to get in the building, want to build a house, it's probably the best time for them to either call Tony, call Suzanne, call us that are actually the tradespeople. Yes.
Because you are able to source product from anywhere in the world, how much about that product can actually be sourced here in the U.S.?
So it's a great question. A lot of it shifted that was coming from China, let's say. In my industry, some of them shifted to Taiwan, the Philippines, Malaysia. They actually are still looking at how to bring it over to the States. The reason is because our business model is built on low labor.
Yeah.
We are higher in the labor category than what most of the other countries are as far as how we take care of our people, especially in the goods problem. I don't think in my industry a lot of that's going to get affected unless it's from the big dogs. So if you're the big dogs in the industry will be Berkshire Hathaways, which owns Shaw Industries and Nebraska Furniture. That's pretty much that Berkshire Hathaways. They're going to feel it because most of their stuff comes from China. A lot of my vendors that I choose to carry are not positioned in China because there was, 8 years ago when we had all these tariffs being conversated. A lot of my industry did some shifting, and as a company, I did some shifting. So if you were to talk to me and ask that question, a lot of my stuff won't maybe be hit, but a lot of our wood comes from Canada. And so that will get us slightly affected because we do have the trees, we do have the resources here in America, but we pack it up
And send it off.
They
Buy it back.
and then we buy it back at lower rates and everything like that. So that whole racket is about to kind of get upended a little bit. But we really don't know right now. I'm asking all my vendors, when are the increases coming? Well, yesterday we actually got signed in that there are going to be some tariffs. The ones coming from Mexico are going to be about 30 days out. Giving them a little time frame because we do get a lot of goods from Mexico in the construction industry, besides the human beings, but we get a lot of the goods. So we really don't know and the forecasting of what that's going to look like and how it's going to affect any of us that are in that industry and trade. So to answer the question. Yes, Liz.
I wanted to ask, long lead time items, whether it be products or whatnot, how long are you looking of duration of time of waiting? Or maybe some things that are coming out of this country, also some things that are being made here in the U.S. You said the time is now to go ahead and start doing, a remodels and so lead time items, like what do you suggest letting in that?
So in my scope of work, I can't speak for electricians or the plumbers or anything like that, the framers, but in my industry, you're looking, if it's coming from the States, then you're looking at a 7 to 12 day lead time in what we do. Most of what we do comes from areas that are still affected by natural disasters. I actually had a builder text me this morning, tired of you telling me I'm waiting on natural disasters. I said, Mr. Builder, the carpet you ordered came from California. It's in LA. They literally couldn't get into their warehouses that are still there. They literally couldn't get into them. And if they could get into them, the people weren't concerned about showing up to work. They're concerned that work there in the warehouse lived and their houses are burned up. It was like, I said, well, I'm sorry. It is what it is. A lot of my industry gets their stuff from Carolinas and Florida, which is, if you don't keep up with the news, you wouldn't ever see it anyways, because most people don't know that there's actually still shell happening over there. People still can't get in their town. People can't, it's just not rebuilt, even close to even started yet in the Carolinas. So a lot of our wood vendors in my industry, a lot of the tile vendors are in Florida, Tennessee, Carolinas. A lot of our natural stone comes actually from those Appalachian Mountains and everything like that. So on the lead time, that's a question right now, because not only if the product was available, it's now the people that they were using to get the product, harvest the product, and actually get it logistically to places. So, that was a 7 to 10, 12 day type of lead time in state. That could go even more because of just being able to logistically move it around.
Yeah.
Harvest it. Like you're going to dig into the side of a mountain for your countertop. Well, you got to have a person that actually is going to show up to do that at this point. And that's kind of what we're dealing with also in our industry. If it's coming out of the state or out of the states, United States, that is at least a month lead time, I'd say. Yes.
The people that you're interviewing for jobs, retired military,
And
they're in for 3 years or 4 years or something like that, and then they have certain skills and they're going out to the workplace, right?
Yeah.
And you say you're hiring them for the construction industry. Do they have any skills at all for the construction industry or not?
so, yes. And that's actually kind of what I was going to lead to next. While I am focused on military, I'm really focused on anybody that fill an I-9 status and has blood pumping through the veins and actually wants to show up and earn a living. Because we pay $18 to $35 an hour is what we pay, benefits and stuff like that. But they have to be passing the I-9 legal status. When it comes to the people that are coming out of the military right now, they do have what they call CBs, which is each branch has its own construction too. So the Navy's called CBs, construction battalion. The Army has one, the Marines have one. They're actually individuals that would set up a base camp or ground zero, plumb it, put the electrical through it and everything. Now, coming out of the military, they didn't have licensing for the most part. They had to come out of the military. They were going to go into plumbing or electrical. They still had to go get their apprenticeships, get their licensing. They had to still go through however long it takes to do that. Now, as they're coming out of the military, they are licensed pilots, licensed electricians, licensed plumbers, licensed welders. So now they are, while they're in the military, during that 4-year stint, or however long, they are actually giving them licensing. So, for the electricians and the plumbers of the world that hire legal people, that is a great, actually, avenue of practice to go, especially if you can get yourself aligned with SkillBridge and other programs that they have for businesses to actually be able to adopt those individuals.
So your company, as I understand it, even though it's for illustration, your main company is a labor facilitating company. Is that correct?
Correct.
You can basically supply labor for any field.
Mm-hmm.
If somebody needed a worker for a week, we could call you and have you provide a worker for a week.
That's where Doreen and I are working together to get it to, because at that point you're now a staffing agency.
Well, that's a,
Yeah, I'm saying there yet.
Out there,
We're heading down.
because
that's the idea.
that is the idea. Because not a lot of, when I go to the on-base job fair, I'm the only construction person there, besides the one that the state and federal construction agencies that are the road to, like Texas, build our highways.
Highway.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. They're there, but they're looking usually for project managers. I think this next job fair that is in a couple of weeks, I feel like those are some of the ones that are going to be looking for actual, not just project managers, but I'm looking for a lower layer of worker, because most of those guys depended on a certain type of worker, and they're not showing up to job sites either.
Well, it should be an area of huge growth because if they're putting all the illegal immigrants out, they're going to have to supply those people from some. So a temporary labor force, it's a huge deal for many companies.
And I teamed up with a legal lawyer yesterday, immigration legal lawyer yesterday at a networking event. And so someone like her skill set would take somebody, Manny, you met Manny. Manny, who's been with me 25 plus years, paid all his taxes, pays taxes to America, has a car note, form, everything that, but he let his papers lapse. So someone like her is able to, and he's worried. He's not showing up because he's, their ICE is hanging out, Home Depot, Lowe's, Ace. They're hanging out at the places where individuals go to buy their supplies that would possibly be in that non-legal status. And so that's just that's where they're only getting people that they have been able to track with ankle monitors and whatnot came in. They're not really picking up the illegal unless they just happen to pull up on it. So they're not really going for that, but it did cause an emotional response to, well, if they're getting picked up, then I don't want to go out and picked up either. So we're just going to hang out for a while.
Yes.
I literally, in my neighborhood that's north of me, they're building 7,000 homes. Stillwood community, this average of 500 people on a job site every day. Because Monday through Sunday, we can hear it all the time. And though the last week and a half, there's been 25. I drove up there this morning and I counted I literally counted all. I drove through 20 streets and there was only people that had logoed vehicles were the only people that were there. So, yeah.
You're afraid.
Yeah. So I think that was my time. Oh, no, but how much of a commercial it was, more of an informative commercial. But if you have individuals that are sitting at home, that you have friends and family that they're like, hey, I need my 18-year-old to get out of the house, 22-year-old to get out of the house. We literally will train them. They don't need to know anything.
Oh, it's
And they'll be surprised, really, in my industry, it's actually therapeutic to lay tile. If you've ever laid tile, the mind-numbing part of it is, I don't know what to do. But if you know what you're doing, it's actually a therapeutic process.
A study just came out that Generation Z, those born between 98 and 2009, 90% of them believe they should not have to work 40 hours.
Wow.
So you got to consider these are the ones that are sitting at home playing games and don't want to go to work.
And people like me, go ahead, Devin.
Who are those people that were recorded?
I actually didn't even see it back behind me, other than that, probably all my team members, veterans. I know he did some interviews with on-base people.
I was just curious because one of them was taking off a cover for a line he used a scraper rather than a screwdriver. I don't know how that.
That's a different form.
Yeah, I know, but still.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's part of the process, right?
Exactly.
Can't have eyes everywhere, but I gotta start training you now and what to look for. No, but that is something, the gig worker. So because of how, for instance, my industry is, I think it works for several other construction industries. If there's a standardization of training, right, of A to Z,
Yeah.
I really don't care if you want to show up for 6 hours a month. If I know that you're trained, and I know that when you're going to show up,
You show up.
then I can work you. So gig workers, the way that, with Doreen's help, have been able to hopefully build this industry for me is I'm okay with working with those 18 to 28-year-olds that want to play 30 hours of gaming and only want to work 10 hours a week. I'm okay with that. As if that fulfills your need, great show. I just know that before you get on my job site, you're going to get training properly. Some of those people just may come in and just hang plastic and tape off baseboards. That's it. That's okay with me because it's a certain hourly pay at a certain workman's comp pay. Because Doreen's able to set that up with Steve and able to set up when you come in the first couple hours, you're at this rate. When the installer's there for the 6 hours, he or she's at that rate. The last hour would be associated to just having cleanup, which is at a different rate, a different paid rate. It could be a totally different human being. And so there are ways to do it. Again, Tariq can help you hit that. But there are ways to maneuver working with a gig worker. As long as you can trust your training process to say, look, you want to work 10 hours, you want to work 20 hours, you want to work 40 hours in 3 days?
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. I'll work your 12-hour days.
Yeah.
You can show up at 6 a.m. and leave at 8. Most of my job sites, especially new construction,
To the max.
okay.
In Texas, you can work up to 12 hours a day, but no more than 40 hours host.
So, any questions for me? No? Thank you, TJ.
Awesome.